Let's talk Tesla, down but small, even with an upgrade. Jeff Pierce looking at the note from TD Cowen. Wedbush also put them on their best ideas, which I kind of thought they always were. So some good stuff out there this morning on Wall Street for Tesla, Jeff.
Yeah, and certainly much needed. I mean, as we talked about, they're down, around 31% or so year to date. A lot of those gains that we saw from the election have really deteriorated. And so, we could see some positives come out of, this year. And that's what I think the analysts are pointing to. To your point, TD Cowen upgraded Tesla to buy from hold, price target at 388, up from 180. The analyst says they see both a bull and bear case for the shares, but they think there are potential catalysts this year for a tactically bullish position given the recent share price pullbacks. They said Tesla's potential game-changing level catalyst across electric vehicles, autonomous vehicles, robotics are all robust enough to tilt the stock risk-reward favorably for the shares. Wedbush also, as you pointed, added them to their best ideas list. We know they've been very bullish on on Tesla in the past. They reiterated their outperform rating, price target at 550. The firm says there have been a number of times in Tesla's story over the past decades that negative sentiment and Wall Street worries have overshadowed the narrative of this unique, disruptive, global tech story, saying that the time has come and they believe this is a gut check moment for Tesla bulls after this massive sell-off in Tesla. But according to the analyst, they think this is the start of their biggest innovation and technology cycle in their history over the next few years. And they expect a lower cost sub 35,000 new model before the summer. They think that'll help drive pent up EV demand globally, and that Tesla will be back on track. They also think autonomous and Optimus will represent about 90% of the valuation of Tesla's story and create the company valuation that exceeds $2 trillion.
All right, there it is. Start busting out those trillions. But I don't know, maybe that gimmick has run its course. We've heard it so many times. Tesla not responding to it this morning. I mean, pretty serious bullish commentary from Wedbush. I mean, again, I think, we've heard it a good bit. Not that it makes it less relevant, but it seems like the market maybe is, seen this trick before.
Yeah, look, this is a very complicated story, right? You mentioned earlier when you guys were talking about Costco, not that complicated. I think Tesla is very different. Before the election, before all of these ties to Trump, Tesla was certainly dealing with a lot of competition in China. They were cutting, prices on their cars, which was really cutting into profit. We know Trump is not, does not have the most favoritism for EV makers and specifically around the regulation side of it, feeling that it's really forced consumers into it. But then, of course, you've got tariffs on China, which could affect supply chain and production costs, could lead to higher vehicle costs. Of course, new tariffs in Canada and Mexico, those are key suppliers for companies like Tesla. Elon, of course, has backed President Trump. He's now working with him. That relationship certainly could be having some sort of effect on consumers as well as investors. Now, if you look at some of the things like tax credits, Tesla might be better positioned to be profitable without them. We've seen some analysts say otherwise. They think it would really cut into their profits. Another potential positive, though, of course, would be loosening of regulations, which would be a tailwind for their self-driving vehicles. We haven't seen any specific guidance for the year, but Tesla has said they expect the vehicle business to return to growth in 2025. They also reiterated plans to unlock an unsupervised full self-driving option. And they said eventually they expect to begin launching their driverless ride-hailing business as well. In Q4, we saw Tesla say that they see output of the affordable vehicle starting in the first half of 2025, suggesting that we should start seeing some production and delivery numbers in late 2025 on that.
Got it. Thanks, Jeff. Like the reminder on the timeline, helpful. And a good look at the analyst commentary. Feeling to spur a rally, but stocks also are failing to rally too. Dan Deming's joining us to trade. Managing partner, KKM Financial. Little Tesla on a Friday. Dan, sir, how do you feel about this stock?
Well, Oliver, it certainly has been a gut check in the stock and the market in general when you look at some of these names over the last few weeks. And, I still think there's probably going to be a potential for further downside before we wash out some of the, the valuation, overvaluation, the perceived overvaluation, some of these names, and just the general expectations as far as economic trends moving forward as we go through this transition. And yeah, as you pointed out, you and Alex, I mean, the Fed speak today, I think, will be very important, as it will indicate possibly, what their thoughts are relative to what the administration's thoughts are. And overall, the market is, struggling to hold these levels. And any rally is sold, and it seems to be the theme in Tesla. However, Oliver, at these levels, and as some of the analysts and as Jeff pointed out, I think there's an opportunity here if we do see even another step lower, that this is a level where I think long term you would probably want to consider adding to the Tesla position. So today's trade example is actually a short-dated put sale, just selling that 250 put in March with 14 days till expiration. You can do that somewhere around $9 versus the stock at 264. I think we're a little lower now, so it's probably could sell it for a little higher level. But the idea is that you get somewhere close to 4% return over the next 2 weeks versus the stock. And if it trades below 250 at expiration, you get put in the stock somewhere around 242 or 241, actually. So, that's a level that, if you look at from a longer term perspective, we've got some reasonable support going back to the middle of last year. So this is a level, I think, below this 250 that if you have the opportunity, or if you don't have Tesla, this would be one way to kind of gain access to the stock.
All right. So that you basically are prepared to own this thing if it keeps slipping.
You're gonna buy it.
Yeah, and you're prepared to again, to your point, have a strong stomach for a stock that certainly can swing.
Exactly. Yeah, and again, this allows for some more volatility in the next week or two. So if we do see some further damage in the stock, you're not buying it at to the 260, 262 level or whatever it's trading right now. You're having the opportunity to buy it at 241. So, this gives you a little time to kind of evaluate and collect some premium, with the understanding that if it trades below 250 at expiration, that you're okay owning a stock somewhere around 241. And again, this is the idea here, is to just give yourself some time, let the volatility kind of work its way out. And if there is further selling, then you're okay with adding this position at a lower level. And then if it doesn't trade below 250, then you get to collect 4% versus the stock over the next 2 weeks, which, any kind of annualization of that is quite substantial. But the idea here is really have the opportunity to get long at a much better level and still get a return versus the stock.
Okay, nice. Okay, Tesla. All right, holding in 262. It's kind of a nervy morning here, Dan.
It sure is, Oliver.
Keep chopping around. Can't seem to hold a rally for more than a minute. So I think appropriate environment, volatility pumped up. Maybe sell some puts.
You got high implied vols.
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, that's the thing. During these times of uncertainty, you have the implied volatilities, which increase dramatically, and therefore do create opportunities, as long as you're willing to have a defined kind of outcome in your head. I mean, the defined outcome here is you're okay getting long the stock below 250, and as long as that's the outcome that you're looking for, then this is one way to set up to possibly make that happen.
Well, it's always good to make sure your margin account is intact.
There you go.
There you go. All right, appreciate it. Thanks, Dan.
All right, Oliver.
All right, selling some Tesla downside. Happy to get in lower.